Hello and welcome to Lesson 5, Unit 2 on Ocean Literacy Products. In this unit, we take a broad overview of the different components or levels of ocean literacy. We also discuss some existing initiatives and approaches to teaching ocean literacy. We then take a look at the ocean literacy approach being taken in the ResponSEAble project and the products which will be produced. The objectives of this unit are to provide an explanation of the different levels of ocean literacy, to provide a broad overview of the existing ocean literacy initiatives, to describe the responsible approach to the development of ocean literacy tools, and then to describe the main responsible ocean literacy tool types. After studying the materials in this unit, you should be able to explain the high-level aims of ocean literacy initiatives, understand the responsible approach to building and testing ocean literacy tools, use the background reading material and links provided to deepen their knowledge of the topics introduced in this unit. This image of the environmental literacy ladder illustrates a view of the essential components of environmental literacy. It is designed to be a loose hierarchy from the simple to the more complex, each building on the step below. Similarly, in ocean literacy, we need to build the same levels of awareness through knowledge and understanding to ultimately see the results of this change in behavior. Awareness is rather loosely defined. For example, it can mean simply having a general impression or superficial knowledge of a topic. Public awareness of issues such as invasive species is steadily growing. For example, although we are aware that certain habits may be bad for our health, we may not understand the actual biological and chemical processes involved. Similarly, while we may be aware that rising CO2 levels have a negative impact on ocean acidification and hence on sea life, we may not understand the impact on the ability of vital shell organisms on the entire food web. Efforts to raise and increase awareness are driven by a number of initiatives and activities, such as educational programs. A large number of awareness campaigns have been undertaken around the world. Campaigns such as these have yielded good results, but are often desperate attempts to prevent problems spreading to areas which have so far avoided them. The definition of what is knowledge is one that has been studied for probably as long as philosophy itself has existed. A commonly held idea is that knowledge is justified through belief. It is more than just data or information or impressions, but requires a mental model of a phenomenon which is validated by analysis of all available information and can be said to correspond to reality and which fits within some intellectual framework. For example, in Lesson 1, we looked at the importance of using techniques such as system thinking to build accurate mental models, verified through observation and experimentation. Attitude is a central and much studied concept in psychology. It is a way of thinking or feeling about something, generally how we are predisposed to something, either positively or negatively. Attitudes can be changed through a variety of ways such as persuasion, experience, or education, and it is widely studied and applied in the field of consumer behavior. Developing attitudes of appreciation and concern for the environment is a subtle process that is difficult to deliberately program. From a teaching perspective, hands-on experiences, such as those provided by outdoor education centers, aquariums, etc., provide an important means of affecting attitude change outside formal educational settings. As well as affecting awareness and attitudes towards ocean issues, the ultimate goal would be to bring about changes in people's actual behavior, both at an individual and collective level. It is only by empowering people with the appropriate knowledge and attitudes that we can bring about behavioral change. This is a long and complex process, although occasionally there can be sufficient momentum behind popular causes that bring about rapid action. It is becoming increasingly clear that the fate of the oceans and the planet cannot be left in the hands of those who have the power to bring about change, but choose not to do so due to self-interest. Of course, we have to be aware that taking very specific steps to influence people and change their attitudes in the way that we desire is in effect social marketing for which we must take responsibility. However, in the absence of such proactive approaches, change may not happen quickly enough. What can we do then? Where do I, as an individual or as part of a group, fit it to this picture and can make a difference? It is often difficult for individuals to feel that they can make a difference through changes to their own habits or choices. An important aspect of ocean literacy is empowering individuals to act through their public representatives and policymakers, as well as supporting organizations which campaign to bring about change. The Ocean Literacy Framework was developed by scientists and educators from the ocean sciences education community in the US. Their efforts build on previous work to define ocean literacy, assess what the public knows about the ocean, and redress the lack of ocean-related content in state and national science education standards, instructional materials, and assessments. Built on a set of 7 principles, the framework has evolved into a comprehensive set of topics and subtopics, which are organized according to the 7 principles. These topics are further detailed and organized into lesson plans designed for specific age groups in accordance with their national curriculum. In addition, there are conceptual flow diagrams designed for each principle and band to assist educators in navigating the material. For example, in this graphic, we see the conceptual flow diagram for principle number 1's grades K2, which would normally be children ages 5 to 6. Specific resources can be found at the link provided in this presentation. This spreadsheet provides links to ocean literacy products arranged according to the lesson plans. You should follow this link to look at some of the lessons and resources. The National Marine Educators Association is a well-established organization of teachers, educators, scientists, and others who provide the forum, conferences, and resources to support and promote individuals and initiatives in ocean literacy. They also provide a link to the bridge, which is also provided in this presentation, which acts as a large online collection of data, teaching resources, and information on ocean literacy and marine topics in general. CANOE, the Canadian Network for Ocean Education, is a network for the advancement of ocean literacy in Canada. It provides access to organizations, resources, projects, and other initiatives, as well as acting as a focal point for Canadian ocean literacy. They are also involved in organizing an annual ocean literacy conference. Ocean literacy in Europe is building upon and extending and adapting work started in the United States in 2001. One of the first ocean literacy projects in Europe using the model from the US was in Portugal called Conhecer o Oceano, launched in November 2011. The European Horizon 2020 program has funded both the ResponSEAble and Sea Change projects under the ocean literacy topic. These sister projects both started in 2015. One of the first ocean literacy projects in Europe using the model from the US was in Portugal called Conhecer o Oceano, or Knowing the Ocean. In 2011, the Portuguese National Agency for Scientific and Technological Culture launched a version of the ocean literacy principles linked to the Portuguese science curriculum. The ocean literacy principle and concept were organized by the different level of education and the science discipline in a matrix. Within each matrix area, teachers can find the contact details of a scientist specialized in that particular science domain. The link to the website is provided in the presentation in the comment section. It offers relevant education materials, research publication, ocean policy documents, school project, and also professional development opportunities. Based on the ocean literacy principle, explorer lesson plans and activities have been developed to support teaching students about our oceans, seashores, and Ireland's marine resource. The Teacher's Guide provides lessons and activities that can be used in preparation for going to the seashore, activities on the seashore, as well as completing projects after the field trip. Activities are organized to align with subjects such as geography, maths, science, visual arts, creative writing, etc., through activities involving research, data collection, writing, painting, or sculpture to analyze and bring to life the fieldwork which the students undertake. The European Marine Science Educators Association, or EMSI, is one of the largest organizations in this area in Europe. Primarily focused on sharing ideas and experience in teaching and awareness raising, its workshops and conferences are a core part of its activities. EMSI, like ResponSEAble, recognizes the importance of local or regional approaches to ocean literacy. Clearly, it is important that children become ocean literacy. But more important, it is that society as a whole becomes ocean literacy, including all those living and working far from the seas, but whose actions are clearly impacting on seas. Because of the wide diversity of interactions between human activities and people, it is essential that attention is not restricted to population and activities from coastal areas. Through our work on the key stories, such as, for example, eutrophication or microplastics, in ResponSEAble, we look at the big picture and identify the various actors involved. We also look at how they should best be communicated with and what forms of communication might work best. It is clear from our work in ResponSEAble that there are a number of challenges to overcome in producing ocean literacy tools aimed at specific actors and behaviors. It is vital to understand the motivation and behavioral models of the target audiences. This understanding is needed to inspire people to change the way they think and also act in relation to ocean matters. Simply knowing does not always lead to doing. Cognitive dissonance is a significant challenge in overcoming this inertia. The language of communication varies enormously, and we must strive to understand the language of our target audiences. Equally, we must strive to understand the filters which we and they use both in transmitting and receiving information and knowledge. These filters potentially bias and even block block out information which is unwelcome or difficult to accept. Knowing does not always lead to doing, as we saw in Unit 1 of this lesson. Cognitive dissonance is a significant challenge in overcoming this inertia. Before embarking on a lengthy and costly ocean literacy initiative, which you hope will lead to some behavioral change, it is important to develop a theory of change for this situation. By this, we mean a comprehensive description of how and why the change desired by the Ocean Literacy Initiative will actually come about. We make choices for emotional reasons at least as much, if not more than, reasons based on facts or knowledge. Therefore, we must make emotional connections between our audiences and the story we use as vehicles for our ocean literacy tools. Groups can influence each other. For example, kids influence their parents, very often based on emotional connections to stories and thereby create change. Ambassador or thought leaders for specific groups should be useful in spreading messages with target groups. In the ResponSEAble project, we aim to develop ocean literacy tools using a living lab approach, where our target users are involved in the conception, design, and test of the tools. The tools will be mutually learning, in that we will use them to gather information on their effectiveness. This is especially true for online tools and games, where we can build this functionality into the tool itself. The tools will be based on the key stories which we have developed. Each tool will target at least one actor in one key story, with specific objectives in terms of raising awareness, increasing knowledge, and ultimately affecting behavior change. Once developed and tested, the tools will be widely distributed through a network of regional multipliers. These are collaborating organizations who will distribute the tools and gather feedback on their use and effectiveness. In ResponSEAble, we will develop a few main streams of media or film outputs to encourage innovation and imaginative approaches to telling ocean stories and conveying messages. Firstly, a film competition to develop films or specific stories to target specific audiences. Selected films can be made available to schools, museums, aquariums, cinemas, etc., as well as online. Secondly, a YouTube-type competition aimed at young people who do not have the capacity or experience of serial filmmaking will also be made. For example, encouraging young people to do self-produced surfing movies with an ocean awareness theme. By getting people involved in a creative, fun process, we will be engaging them in ideas around ocean literacy. It will provide a more interactive process of communication. In ResponSEAble, the Pro-Sea organization will use its experience in teaching sustainable fishing to inspire the fishing sector, as sustainability is not structurally implemented in fishery education curricula. Working with fisheries academies in Denmark, Scotland, and Ireland, we will develop, customize, and translate educational materials and make these materials available for teachers. We will also work with the teachers and ResponSEAble partners to implement these materials. We will also work with the marine renewable energy sector to ensure that participants are aware of the environmental issue in the marine renewable energy projects and understand the global environmental impacts. We will develop educational materials for marine renewable energy developers to be used in workshops and courses, and work with MRE developers and ResponSEAble partners to implement the materials in other educational strategies. We will develop a workshop aimed at 8 years olds based on one key story, which will be tested with the first group of children and facilitators. This prototype will evolve with the feedback received via the Living Lab approach, and we will then decide how it will be extended to the other key stories. The main characters will be Zaza, a mermaid, and her friends, such as a merboy, Casper the dolphin, or other characters which will emerge. Materials needed for the workshop are simple: a screen and projector, develop a presentation with pictures, paper and crayons. The pictures created by the children during the workshop will be part of a competition. Since pictures are related to a wish they make, we could follow up these wishes and see if some behavior change has happened, or at least if they remember the story at all. We will develop an online board game based on a day in the life of a person, where the user can choose the role or avatar. Focus groups will help in finding attractive characters which they want to represent them in the game. The user will also have virtual creature whose health will depend on how well they play the game. The game should be playable, enjoyed by all ages. A number of different challenges or scenarios will be presented to the user, which will then have to solve or answer, thereby revealing to them the impact of the everyday choices, but also allowing us to determine their level of awareness and knowledge. At last, we will install interactive platforms in areas such as ferries, museums, public libraries, which will carry content to illustrate key stories as well as host more interactive content. They will be able to use live data already being collected by devices installed on ferries, which will be used to provide interactive graphical content based directly on the current location of the vessel. A variety of different graphical storytelling tools will be used to convey the key stories. In addition, the platform will be a fully functional web browser and server, and will be able to host the serious game and other ocean literacy tools and information. Data will be collected and transmitted to a base station whenever internet connection is established, for example, when the ship arrives back in port. Thanks a lot for the attention. You can download the presentation from the unit page on the Emma platform.